The first 3 episodes of Andor have just released on Disney+, and after being disappointed by the many entries in the Star Wars universe over the last few years, I was quite surprised by the start of this new show. So far, Andor ditches much of the recent Disney Star Wars approach of having to rely on fan service or the poor treatment of iconic characters, and instead, it focuses on crafting a more adult show with the solid backstory of a character we saw in Rogue One, not losing sight of doing something new in a galaxy that has the opportunity to tell many different stories. In this spoiler review, I'm going to be giving you my reaction to Andor episode 1 to 3, discussing the reasons why I think it's better than expected. But before I get into it, if you want to see more videos on Andor, then don't forget to support this upload by giving it a like rating, subscribing to the channel, and turning on your notifications. Also, feel free to check me out on Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, and Instagram at Cortex Videos, which is all linked in the description below. But without further ado, let's dive into my review for the first 3 episodes of Star Wars Andor. So Star Wars Andor is approaching the more grey area in the Star Wars universe, and after the quite mediocre installments of Boba Fett and Obi-Wan Kenobi, I think that this is a welcome change in a universe that has the potential for many unique shows. As Star Wars fans, it has become draining to see Lucasfilm infuse every new project, whether it be films or TV series, with fanservice, Easter eggs and callbacks that feel so badly mishandled in the face of telling a decent story with interesting characters. And while Andor may eventually go down that route or reveal stuff about Rogue One that we didn't expect, just from these first 3 episodes, it seems like the spin-off show is more concerned with telling its own fascinating story and isn't rushing towards moments that will make fans go crazy. It's quite simply telling the story of characters not related to the Skywalkers, Solos, or other famous Star Wars names, those who do have meaningful journeys that matter outside of the popular structures. It's something that is genuinely different, almost acting as a more adult noir thriller that takes place in unfamiliar Star Wars locations. Right from the start of episode 1, where we witness a fight with Andor and 2 men outside an alien brothel, following the main character looking for his long-lost sister, in an unfamiliar association with Disney, we witness this new hero shoot a man in the head who was begging to be spared. This opening sequence is like something you'd see in a Blade Runner film, and it quite quickly makes it clear to the audience that they are not going to be watching the same thing that they've been seeing time and time again with Disney Star Wars. You get a sense of the main character's frustration, the brutal climate for the upcoming rebellion, and the visual style that the director of the Bourne films, Tony Gilroy, is going to be bringing this time around. Of course, Andor is a spin-off of another good example in the Disney era of Star Wars, and like Rogue One, it's a more gritty entry that stays away from the predictable tropes of the other properties. This is a Star Wars story, yes, but one that's taking some risks in approaching the hard-minded individuals who started a rebellion during the aggressive days of the Empire. Now, I can sit here and talk about how great this new tone supports a greyer Star Wars show, but many would want to know how effective is the overall narrative in these first episodes. Well, so far, Andor may be a lot slower than previous entries, but it's also posing characters that each have struggles and will grow as the story develops. At the moment, Andor is a crook who sleeps off-grid in the junkyard of a quite normal town, living a tough life while looking after his adoptive mother and scavenging parts with a local black market dealer called Bix. His killings outside of that Blade Runner-esque brothel attract the focus of a local Imperial officer, but then also the attention of an off-world stranger played by Stellan Skarsgård. This is quite quickly setting up the rebellion that takes fold in Rogue One and the original Star Wars films, but by starting this show with unknown figures, unknown locations, and powerful themes, the story story has the room to become more compelling as the episodes unfold. That's me just hoping, of course, but the initial structure of this show does give it that opportunity. It's definitely helped by Gilroy's visual style that captures believable characters saying things that ordinary people would in environments not filled with endless CG like previous examples. It's a grittier and dirtier show that helps you believe in these figures on screen and understand their motivations, whether it be Andor's persistence to get out of his situation, or Bix's struggles with her dealings and ultimately helping Andor. There's the undertones that these hard-minded characters will eventually start to fight back, and the craftsmanship of the world and palettes around them makes that much more realistic. The acting is more natural too, and the few action scenes we do get have much more weight to them. By stepping outside of the usual Disney Star Wars brackets, Andor has more freedom to create and add depth to its own world and characters, making it all the more promising going forward. It doesn't seem too interested in letting this go to fan service or giving us much connectivity as it can, and to me, that makes this show have a lot more potential than the previous ones to sustain an engrossing plot as the episodes go on. Of course, we need to see if this story can excel under this new setup, and for all we know, Disney might have implemented more of the conventional things that I don't particularly love as the show goes on, but right now, it's a promising start to a show that seems more focused on telling a more authentic story. It further helps that Andor's a 12-episode first season that can really dive into the mindset of the central characters involved with a more realistic backdrop. It's more like something HBO would do with their biggest franchises or original IP. In relating to this, Tony Gilroy's scripts build authentic places and a sense of social tensions where other Disney Plus shows could have been more intriguing. Using flashbacks to Cassian's childhood on the planet Canary, we learn about the civilizations that avoid the Empire on their way to victory. And at the end of episode 3, we see the contrast between the moment where young Andor is adopted against that of him heading off with Stellan Skarsgård's Lúthien Rael with a new sense of purpose. It's an emotional moment that delivered on the tone of the first 3 episodes to show that Andor is the story of tragic figures that sacrifice to help the wider universe of more popular heroes. In that sense, it's just like the end of Rogue One and the themes of heroism that made that so popular. Nicholas Britell's score has to be praised in moments like this, as it's a nice break from the sounds that we are used to hearing in recent Star Wars entries, and more in line with a noir thriller's score that's been given an emotional layer. And I'm someone who loves Ludwig Göransson's more western-like and uplifting sounds in The Mandalorian. I just think that this is a welcome change to that formula. The sets further feel lived in and more tangible, setting up a more realistic Star Wars adventure with more consequences to make us actually feel the weight of this story. Andor has definitely laid the groundwork for an uprising, with the show making the ordinary people gripping during their boldest moments. Fans love the possibilities that a galaxy far, far away can bring, and so far, Andor shows that we can explore more of that in detail, whether it be with characters or visual possibilities. I hope this applies more to the story as we get deeper into this show, but it definitely raises my excitement for whether Andor can capitalize on this bold start. But that was my spoiler review for the first 3 episodes of Andor. Overall, the new Star Wars show is off to a decent start, and like Rogue One, it brings solid performances, infuses its narrative with an espionage tone, and the filmmaking helps to elevate this in a fascinating way. While it takes place within the Star Wars universe, it uses those vast capabilities to actually do something different, and that could lead to it being a great Star Wars show if it sticks to its guns. Some fans may want more Easter eggs, a wider sense of the established Star Wars universe, and a faster pace, but after recent missteps, to me, Andor is a welcome change with a quite compelling story. I'm invested in the central character and the grey undertones, and I'm hoping that in the episodes to come, it doesn't lose sight of the more serious tone and challenging thematics that have been set up. It's taking its time to really establish this identity, and by the time we reach the end of the season, we will hopefully get a satisfying payoff if things continue to go in the right direction. We'll have to see, but after this start, I'm liking the direction that Tony Gilroy and his production crew are going in. I'm giving Andor episode 1 to 3 a rating of 8.5 out of 10. But to those who have already seen the first few episodes, what are your thoughts on Star Wars Andor, and does this unique approach to the start of this show get you excited for what's to come? Let me know down below in the comment section, alongside sharing whether you would like to see more videos on the channel for the new Star Wars series. For more videos on Star Wars and Andor, then subscribe to the channel and turn on your notifications. Also, if you enjoyed this video, remember to leave a like rating and follow me on social media via the links in the description. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I've been Cortex, and as always, make some noise.